Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to a glorious Sunday afternoon. And we are going to do another Christian article. Chris having to explain what stress is. This is just. You could tell from a mile away this is going to be a very self-servient sort of video because what stress has Chris actually been under? Because, well, we'll get to that in a second. Also, there's a notice. An editor is currently working to improve this article in a sandbox page at user super SpongeBob Bros /sandbox page 3. To leave suggestions, post on the talk page to avoid edit conflicts with the sandbox. Okay. Stress hinders the emotions and physical abilities as swiftly as a bullet. Chris equating stress with being shot. A bit of an extreme case, but here's nonetheless. I really feel like I should be reeled into my Pokeball and stored in the PC for a while. Chris after finding out that Rosechew had a pickle all along. Chris in stress mode, just lying on his side. Stress is the bane of Christian Weston Chandler's existence. After high school, Chris soon learned that he couldn't blame his shortcomings on his high-functioning autism. Thus, he began to use stress as an excuse. However, it's assumed that Chris is probably confusing stress with depression or anxiety, refusing to admit that he is in fact unhappy with his current situation. Given the intensely sheltered lifestyle his parents provided for him well into his 20s, it is highly unlikely Chris ever experienced any form of intense anxiety or pressure that would give him severe psychological and physical effects. Apart from his consistent paranoia over getting trolled and, in recent years, the financial crisis. He is, however, prescribed medicine for his stress. Since Chris tends to exaggerate just about everything, anything that makes him feel remotely uncomfortable is classified to him as a stressor. When under the effects of stress, Chris typically posted videos without his glasses and talked in a more meek voice. It is during these periods that Chris will opt to remove himself from the internet for about a week or so, and then come back feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and given a new resolve to finish the love quest. This is more likely due to his autistic regenerative abilities that make sure that his heart level never goes below 0% and into the negatives. Chris often cites stress as the reason why he isn't inspired to work on the comics. Precisely why inspiration is needed to make Sonichu recolors have sex with each other and kill Chris's enemies is not apparent. In August 2013, Chris indicated through Facebook that his stress is beginning to take a toll on his health. Given his rather unhealthy lifestyle, it's not unlikely. And now we get into stressors. I've talked extensively in the Quictionary about this before, but let's go through the list. Examples. Identity. His mental block of autism, talking to anyone about anything except himself, having his identity questioned, being referred to with his incorrect pronouns, his daily struggle against becoming homosexual pre-2014, and anything that autism isn't an excuse for. That's apparently a stress when it comes to his identity. Sonichu comic, being paranoid, copyright issues, his characters being accused of homosexualities, his characters being redesigned by a fan artist. All of these things cause him stress, apparently, despite the fact that obviously, copyright is the beginning and ending when it comes to what Chris could be in regarding to Sonichu. Online presence, being famous, ? The existence of web pages outlining his many failures, including racism, criticism, constructive or otherwise, having drawings of him finger-banging Megan confused with Crystal, despite the fact that Chris drew these things in the first place and could have sold him a hell of a lot of time and protect his, his self-confidence, his dignity. Domestic life, chores apparently give him stress. Back when Bob was still alive, his willingness to call Chris out on his bullshit and his rare hand washing. But living in a super fun city is perfectly okay. Is some super fun going to lead to? Yes, that is. Outside the house. Anything requiring him to leave the house causes him stress. Getting a job easily causes Chris stress. Getting job. Okay. Being banned from places he frequents over things that are his fault. Being banned from conventions, things that are also Chris's fault. Trying to get unbanned from the game place resulted in Chris calling Michael Snyder a Jew. Losing trading card game matches, including to children, involves Chris's swearing at them and giving racial slurs to them. Sweethearts. Taking women and the associated high infamy boyfriend free factor. Asking girls to go out with him. Being friend-zoned. His hormones. Finding out his internet girlfriend broke him because of the Pickle Man. Finding out his internet girlfriend died in a bushfire. Finding out his internet girlfriend was killed by Optimus Prime in a tragic car accident. You're not reading this wrong. Finding out his internet girlfriend is a 13-year-old boy. Finding out that his date was a mole working for the man in the pickle suit. Finding out his internet girlfriend doesn't even exist, Ivy O'Neill. Finding out his internet girlfriend is marrying someone else, Casey. And finding out his internet girlfriend will not give him China if he doesn't act like a normal person, Jackie. Antagonists. Clyde Cash, the man in the pickle suit, bullies, trolls, PVCC faculty, having someone pretend to be him, being confronted by his sweetheart's father, being called a child, because he is a child. And many of these antagonists merely just react and call Chris out on his BS anyway. Other individuals. Males, black people, people with Asperger's syndrome, homosexuality before 2014. And also the thing about Asperger's syndrome is because he believes people with Asperger's are taking the limelight away from people who have autism. Not even joking. That apparently is enough to call Chris stress. And other males who are just straight up, more successful than he is. Because they actually put in the time and effort. Others. Pickles, mortality, doses of reality, Sega changing the color of Sonic's arms to blue, resulting in Chris nearly getting himself arrested, anything slightly inconvenient, and anything that stress isn't an excuse for. Because he has to, he can't handle it. He can't handle the real world. Handling stress. Masturbating, having a sweetheart resetting his biological clock, the prospect of having a sex time, playing video games, hiring prostitutes, taking medication, including Lipitor when he was 26, wishing he were in another dimension because of the financial crisis, and just generally absenting himself from the situation. Things that Chris does when stressed. Shits himself, cries, becomes more productive than usual, rages about his pitiful adult life in YouTube videos, again, while not actually doing anything at all to improve it, rages at his mailers, sends death threats, abuses his cameras, crashes into slumber, becomes increasingly homophobic, becomes increasingly racist, sighs excessively, suffers from memory loss, draws hideous pornography of his friends and personas, drinks, attempts vehicular homicide, and considering suicide. One of the more common symptoms of stress. This comic book is yet to be completed. Given that inspiration is a big variable and I may have been lacking of it, the comic will be completed as soon as possible. Thank you for your patronage, and sincerely, Christian Weston Chandler. And there's this. Hedgehog defensive state. I went full hedgehog defensive and let my quills keep others back. It hurts. Context to this, I'll get into that in a second. While being kicked out of the 2018 Too Many Games convention for making unwanted physical contact with other event attendees, stress forced Chris to create the hedgehog defensive state. Instead of leaving the con, he curled up into a ball on the floor and imagined he had hedgehog quills to keep the meanies away, eventually being escorted off the premises by security. He also blamed the trolls and an event coordinator for causing the stressful situation. It's implied that this is a replacement for his pepper spray he used on the 26th of December 2014. Also, just in case you're wondering, unwarranted physical contact, he was trying to kiss and get way too intimate with people. And yes, he is wearing clothes that has holes in them. Meanwhile, and probably this is another thing to point out, is that despite the fact that any normal person would have known not to have done those things because it prevents, this sort of tantrum from occurring, And by the way, this is a woman who deals with autistic children a lot, so I think she kind of like knows how to deal with Chris. I'm pretty sure, you know, these guys, I'm pretty sure, are a little bit like less than, you know, patient when it comes to this sort of BS behavior. So apparently that's, you know, something that he was wholly responsible for is apparently a thing that he cannot blame everyone else. And you know what? Actually, while we're here, there's technically one more thing I kind of like want to check out. Because this is like one of the most irritating things about Chris's stressing is his infamous stress sigh. Stop sighing so much, Casey's father. The stress sigh is Chris's usual reaction to stress. Initially an unconscious coping mechanism, Chris has made habit of directing attention to it in an effort to gain sympathy. Chris has used it in conversation to discourage further unwarranted scrutiny or to express disapproval at having his desires deferred. This places where Chris would sigh while speaking in person are noted in all of his written communication with sigh. The term stress sigh is presumed to originate from PVCC. Due to the strong connection in Chris between sighing and stress, Chris refers to the stress sigh as only a sigh, suggesting that to him the link between sighing and stress is implicit. Stress makes you sigh a lot, apparently. Mimbobo Boroto. You may have simply called him Mimbobo, but he was a bunch of quirky times and lies. Even when he's fighting his battles, Mimbo will announce his traps and tricks with gusto as he activates but he sighs a lot. It's obvious that he has a share of stress, yet he laughs it off later. The anti-sigh. Chris makes a comparable noise, a short, chirpy humph, to express contentment and self-satisfaction, usually of a smug variety. And unfortunately, the video no longer exists. It's basically something that shows the video has been removed by YouTube and or elsewhere jerk-ops and requires immediate replacement. The thing I kind of like wanted to emphasize with the stress sign, because Chris thinks that his life is so stressful, but again, when you compare it to stuff like, you know, him just being, you know, things, you know, inconveniencing, like, you know, just as much as, like, you know, black people, or if you were born male, that's the sort of thing that, you know, gets under Chris's skin, then it's hard to, you may as well, you know, replace stress with just pathetic, what's the right word? Pathetic insecurities that don't even exist. Like, him refusing to get a job, for example, is pathetic because it's resulted in Chris nearly getting his house taken away from him. Chris continually being called a child is also completely justified because that's all Chris does, as opposed to, you know, getting a job. And also, if he had any chance anyway, he would know better how to actually interact with the rest of the world. A lot of that can be pinned on his parents, but part of getting older is, you know, learning and maturing and, you know, knowing where you went wrong before, which Chris, even if he had the mental capacity to, you know, relay or learn from his past misdeeds, he certainly doesn't show it. And realistically, that is kind of like the end of it, because anything, and actually I'll tell you one more thing. I'll tell you one thing I want to show you. Let's see. I'm gonna like make probably a video about these calls anyway, because I want to show you just like the last few minutes of the his 8th phone call. So it's like around about here.
Before midnight, and I get up at like 9 a.m.
Oh. Well, I actually go to bed like around 11, and, you know, so I'm closer to my bedtime than you are to yours, but I feel fine.
Yeah.
We all get tired, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
What do you think of... let's see here.
See, he's sighing already.
Oh, here's another good question. When someone asked you about the mailbag that you fabricated and you gave them that stock response again, I really want to see you actually, my main goal right now is I want to see you put real effort into your mailbags.
I put as much effort as I could, but, sometimes I do come up blank, and that cannot be helped.
Chris, I know you've said plenty of times you're a pretty smart guy, right?
Yeah, but sometimes I'm quick, sometimes I'm slow.
Why?
It just happens. I don't know why. It's my head.
Cognitive thinking, that's
I'm
what I
not
put
a
it down to.
psychiatrist.
You don't have to be a... You remember that Mike Jackson memorial email you got here? You used the copy and paste response on that, too.
And he sighs again.
Yeah, well, I didn't know who that was. I didn't realize that was the...
It should also be pointed out that Alex said earlier, why does Chris sigh so much? And he puts it down to just being tired. Even though Chris told Alex specifically to call him at 9:30 at night.
Guy that went out, moved out and went married the prostitute that did him.
I thought that you said that you spent a lot of time reading and carefully rereading these emails. How do you not know the basics of what it's about?
Well, I miss a detail or two sometimes. It happens.
You missed all the detail, Chris. You missed all the detail.
I mean, I thought they were talking about Michael Jackson, the pop star.
Maybe if you'd read the email, you would have seen that wasn't the case. Do you even look at that memorial?
And here comes the big part.
Chris, Chris, why do you not put effort into anything?
I do put effort in everything.
Everything? No. I told you that your website was going to get taken down because of a lawsuit over a stolen character, and you did nothing. I tell you got to upload pages, and you do nothing. I tell you got to respond.
I am working on the page.
But you don't upload them.
Yes, I will. Yes, I do, and I will.
No, will is different from do. Will is future tense, and it hasn't happened yet.
I'm getting tired. of this. You're raising your voice at me. I don't appreciate it.
Well, I think I kind of, I'm just trying to enunciate a point. I'm trying to get you to respond.
Yeah.
Chris, a person raising their voice, that really is enough to just, completely discombobulate you.
Right, okay, now, technically, without really wanting to go, much further into this, the point I'm trying to make is that Chris will sometimes, when he's ever called out on stuff like this, then he just laments with an outburst, because the things he sees as, stressful are just the things that some people have to deal with. I mean, I deal with things that are inconvenient, and sometimes it's not the best thing in the world. That's why it's called inconvenience, because some things come up that, get in the way of our schedules. And, well, the fact is that they've got to be done, whether you like them or not. It's just part of growing up, and it's part of, maturing, is that there are many things that, like paying bills and, doing things for other people without much of a thank you or even sort of reward or stuff like that is inconvenient, but you do them because it's part of what you got to do. It's very simple. You can't live a completely stress-free life because there are things that, build up pressure, but you've got to learn to deal with them. And Chris does not know how to deal with stress because he's never had to cope with anything outside of anything minorly discomforting from the outside world. It's very, very important, and when you even begin to think about it for a few more seconds, you begin to realize that, look, guys, listen to me. I told you before, I'm pretty sure I've told you guys before that my working week is something about 67 hours, around about that. It leaves me with incredibly little time to actually make videos, and that's sometimes a bit stressful to not spend as much time doing the things you love as you want. And It's not so. That sort of things. Yeah, but the thing is, if I didn't work, I wouldn't be earning any money. It's as simple as that. And also, when you think about it, like I've got things to pay, and it's just that the way the world works. Like it's as simple as that. If you feel like something is becoming like a detriment, then you better like analyze and sort of work out exactly where it is you're going wrong. You can't shirk your responsibilities like Chris does, because near close to everything he's ever done is shirking and shifting the blame, or making himself to be painted as a sympathetic being, when that no one is going to buy that for a second, because it's not only completely insincere, but it also sees Chris as an even bigger child than before. Children could probably handle stress better than Chris. And that's nothing to do with his autism. That's just down to him being lazy. I know plenty of people who have autism. Many of them my age, many of them younger, many of them older. You know what? They can function just fine. It's a sign of, it's more narcissism that you don't have to, you know, like you can have the good without the bad. That's what I'm trying to say. I'll make like a full video to talk about every single thing that happens, probably in part 8 anyway, because part 8 is, and possibly part 9 as well, but this one really highlights just what a lazy slob Chris like really is, and how he has no chance in the real world if he had any. Also, I like the fact that they make Alec David Tennant from Jessica Jones the Purple Man. And with all that being said and done, I hope you guys have enjoyed this article, and I will see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, bye bye for now.